Hello and welcome to the agenda. I am Ajay Kaul. Today we will discuss whether the SAARC or South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation is still relevant. The South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation or SAARC was founded in 1985 with the aim of forging closer integration among the countries of South Asia, that is India, Pakistan, Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka and Maldives. Afghanistan was added as a member in 2007. The main objectives of the SAARC were to promote active collaboration and mutual assistance in diverse fields for progress and prosperity of all member countries without interference in the internal affairs of each other. However, down the years, the organization has lost steam and its relevance shrank. Why did it happen? We will try to analyze this in the agenda today. We have with us retired diplomat Ambassador J.K. Tripathi and Vice President of SAARC Chamber of Commerce Mr. Vinod Juneja. But before we begin our conversation, let's have a look at this report.
The South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation or SAARC just marked its 36th foundation day, but on a lackluster note. It was on 8 December 1985 when the regional grouping of South Asian countries was founded. It was a 7-nation grouping of India, Bhutan, Nepal, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Maldives and Pakistan. Afghanistan was also included in 2007 to make it an 8-member body. The charter of the SAARC was to work collectively to promote mutual understanding, good neighborly relations and meaningful cooperation among the member states. The main objectives of SAARC were to promote active collaboration and mutual assistance in the economic, social, cultural and technical scientific fields on the basis of respect for the principle of sovereign equality, territorial integrity, political independence and non-interference in the internal affairs of each other. However, 36 years later, the grouping is yet to realize its potential and the main stumbling block has been Pakistan. It has been undermining the SAARC in various ways, including by putting hurdles in free trade, not only between India and Pakistan, but also between India and Afghanistan. Even when COVID struck, India decided to convene a virtual meeting of SAARC leaders to discuss how the member countries could pool in their resources to face the common challenge. However, Pakistan once again played truant, with Prime Minister Imran Khan skipping it and deputing his advisor. Cross-border terrorism, sponsored and supported by Pakistan, also is a major reason for SAARC not making appropriate progress. Because of Pakistan's continued support to terrorism directed against India, the annual summit of the grouping has not taken place after 2014. In view of all this, a pertinent question arises: is SAARC still relevant? Bureau Report.
Now let's welcome our guests, Ambassador Tripathi and Mr. Juneja. Welcome to the program, sir. I'll begin by asking Mr. Tripathi. It is now 36 years since SAARC was founded with certain objectives of promoting mutual progress, prosperity through integration, closer integration. What do you think? Is it still relevant?
Well, see, Mr. Kaul, SAARC has lost most of its sheen by now. In its 36 years, it tried to do its best, but it was always stopped, or the progress was always hampered by the vested interests by the individual nation of each country. Like, for example, you see, there is between India and Bangladesh regarding border. There is the between India and Sri Lanka regarding Tamils and regarding tea. There is the between Bangladesh regarding jute. There is tussle between India and Nepal regarding border. There is permanent tussle, standoff between Pakistan and India. Bhutan is perhaps the only country which is not in these tussles. So that is one, because in any regional organization, the leaders have to forego some of their nationalistic approach so that they can have a common platform, they can have a common standing and common understanding, I'll say, on many issues. But what happened here is most of the nations have not been able to forego even a small portion of their nation. Something to do with the type of governments they have. Besides political matters apart, even on apolitical matters, most of them, but these countries have not been able to agree to each other on most of them because perhaps the types of government they have. Nepal was a monarchy till last decade. Pakistan is a military state. Bangladesh is of course, a democracy. Sri Lanka is a democracy. Bhutan is still sort of monarchy. So all these things, they play the role where where the country or their people do not agree, do not see eye to eye on many issues. And one big problem with India was that these countries, that all those countries, all those other members of SAARC, except of course Afghanistan and Bhutan, they are immediate neighbors. They are those immediate neighbors who always have one thing or other to judge against India, and always accusing India of playing trying to play a big brother role, trying to browbeat others, which was false. But this is, yes, of course, there have been some issues on which SAARC has gained success, but they are very serious. And that is why the government of India or the policy makers of India have now decided to pay bigger focus on BIMSTEC than SAARC, because BIMSTEC is a regional organization that can deliver, it has been seen, and that is working. Ganga Mekong and other projects, they are the connectivity projects. They are the ones which are showing ground results, but not the projects. Most of the projects of SAARC or within SAARC have been non-started. So that is the problem with SAARC. You see, there have been so many meetings, even recent meetings. The first meeting which was called by Prime Minister Modi to fight COVID, it was not attended by the President or Prime Minister of Pakistan, but a junior functionary, and who later had to resign for various reasons within the country. Similarly, one big thing you see that Article 10.2, Sub-Article 2 of Article 10 of SAARC Declaration, of SAARC rules say that SAARC meetings will exclude any bilateral issues. That means the bilateral issues cannot be discussed in this. But it has been the regular attempt of Pakistan to discuss these bilateral issues in SAARC, thereby totally violating the rules.
Right. So I'll come back to you. I'll ask Mr. Juneja, who is the Vice President of SAARC Commerce Secretariat. Mr. Juneja, as you heard Ambassador Tripathi talking about the potential of SAARC, but it has not been realized, particularly if you talk about the commercial and economic potential or prospects which was there in this SAARC. But why do you think it has not been realized?
See, I do agree with Ambassador that SARC is 36 years old and India is one of the main members. As you are all aware that SARC has got his headquarters in Kathmandu. There is a SARC secretariat, as he is having the UNO secretariat and all in Kathmandu, where the present, where by rotation, Secretary General comes by alphabetical order, so there is no problem. And our every country they send 8 members equivalent to the Joint Secretary level in this meeting. Number of commerce, I can tell you, we can tell you very important thing that SARC has got very important organization. This is the SARC Development Fund, which is based out of Bhutan. The General, which is SARC Secretariat, which is based in Nepal. There is a called SARC Arbitration Council, which is based in Islamabad. There is a called SARC Standardization, which can be from one country to another, that is based in Dhaka. There is a called SARC University, very important university which is based in New Delhi. There is a called SARC Games, which is in Islam. There is a SARC Chamber of Commerce and Industry which we are having in Islamabad. So my only suggestion is SARC little bit in few years because of the political reason.
Go to Ambassador Tripathi. Said earlier also, you talked about Pakistan role. What we have always felt is like Pakistan has been the main culprit, which has been trying to undermine the SARC all through. Whether it be, as you mentioned, about raising bilateral issues at the SARC forum, or continuing support to terrorism, which has been an irritant to India. Do you agree?
Because, when it comes to Pakistan, let us not forget that it has been Pakistan's very well declared policy since its inception, since its birth, to oppose India on many issues, Kashmir being the main issue among that. And that's why in all the platforms, be it Human Rights Commission's platform, be it UNSC, be it United Nations General Assembly, be it G20, in all platforms, Pakistan has been raising this issue and quite unsuccessfully. They also know that the world is sick and tired of these bilateral issues being raised by Pakistan repeatedly in every forum. But I think for Pakistani leaders also there is a compulsion. If they don't raise this issue, then their public, whom they have fed with the idea that India is our foremost enemy, our sworn enemy. So the public will say, why have you stopped criticizing India? And that is why Imran Khan, when he took oath, he said his first and foremost agenda will be Kashmir issue, and he will go all out for Kashmir. So this has been one plank for Pakistani politicians or leaders to show to their populace that we are more nationalist than the leaders of other parties. And that's why Pakistan, despite being unsuccessful at many platforms, Pakistan has
But Ambassador, my question is, isn't it undermining the SARC?
It is, yes. Pakistan's this one action every year is undermining SARC. You see, and it could not be held in Pakistan because four countries members of SARC, they refused to come to Pakistan. And not only that, terrorism is another issue on which India and Pakistan do not see eye to eye. And Pakistan is sort of almost a declared terrorist state, just short of the formal declaration. So that is these things stop SARC from looking ahead on various other issues on which both countries can very well work. You see, for example, India and Pakistan. Now, there are so many things which India can supply to Pakistan, and India supplies, but not directly. Indian goods, as Mr. Juneja will certainly know, Indian goods are exported to Dubai, to Gulf, and Pakistan imports those things from Gulf. And similarly, we do it for some Pakistani items. So
Right.
thereby ensuring that middlemen are benefited instead of direct business. And Pakistan does not realize the government. I will not blame the population, but the government does not realize that what they are doing is detrimental to the interests of Pakistan itself.
Okay, Mr. Juneja, I'll come to you. As we talked about the potential, particularly in commerce and economic field.
Yes.
As Ambassador mentioned about what we could supply to Pakistan and what Pakistan could supply to us, and how we could trade between ourselves, but we had to go through UAE, Dubai, and third countries. So, as we discussed, is Pakistan not hampering the full, realization of full potential of SARC?
No, I totally agree with the ambassador that Pakistan is the main hurdle between the SARC nations. Their attitude, they have got their own issues, but they are hampering the development of SARC. I do agree that India was the main supplier for cotton to Pakistan mills. For this one, they were the main supplier. Now still they are supplying, but they are first it is supplying to Dubai, and from Dubai it is going to Karachi, which is ultimately not in the interest of the consumer. Other important thing, which is most important thing, is Pakistan still depending on the lot of fresh vegetables like tomatoes, some of the vegetables from India, and especially our neighboring states of Punjab, what you call the Amritsar, Batinda, and those districts are still, they wanted to trade with Pakistan, but the attitude of their payment mechanism is not there. So there are a lot of hurdle issues. But I personally feel that this is a right time for the India to look something for a different alternative.
Right.
Now we are already talking about the...
Mr. Juneja, I'll come to you on different alternative, but I want to point out here, it's not only bilateral India-Pakistan about the trade. Pakistan has even has been denying India access transit facility to Afghanistan also. So that is also another aspect which we cannot ignore.
Agree. That is also coming up. You see, ultimately, SARC member wanted that when I will tell you, for example, they were looking, a time will come a person can drive his car from Guwahati to Dhaka or Calcutta to Dhaka, and all those things. People were there, India to Kathmandu, from Calcutta to Kathmandu or Patna to Kathmandu. They could have gone by road. I think these sort of the things we are looking for a PETA, which is a free trade and transport agreement among the SARC nations, which is also held up, which has not been done. Transportation costs among the two nations are extremely high.
And MFN also, most favored nation, MFN status also Pakistan has been denying to India.
That is.
And while India has already given that status to Pakistan.
They are not giving to India. Was the first to give it to thing, and they are not given. Still, whenever goods go, they put lot of inspection, lot of duties, lot of harassment is there for our traders to supply them. But I am not talking. SARC is not only India, Pakistan. One should understand. It is other 7 countries are also there. We have got excellent relations with, as far as the commerce and trade is concerned, with Bangladesh. We have got with Nepal. We have got with Bhutan, including Afghanistan by air and all. They are taking.
No, that's what I'm saying. If we see, I know we know that India, Pakistan does not. SARC is not only India, Pakistan, but
yes.
If Pakistan is creating stumbling blocks, you are not in. As part of SARC, India can trade. We should be trading with Afghanistan, sending goods to Afghanistan, but that is denied by a member country.
Oh yes,
So
I think that is.
It is part of SARC.
That is very unfair because it is country and they have got a law. They are a country which is having no sea routes and nothing. They are already surrounded by roads and mountains. Afghanistan, I think it is an international violation by the Pakistan that not drying the sea, because ultimately human beings are suffering, whether it is any human being who are living there. So some of these good conditions we have to take care, and I am sure that in the SAARC Secretary General is a very competent man, a very senior diplomat based in Kathmandu. He must be talking to all, because to all the nations to see, and yearly
But,
every
Mr. Juneja, this has been going for 2 decades. This is not new
Oh
thing.
yes, I do agree.
So
but
it has been. So let
yes,
me let
yes, I
me
do.
let me now turn to Ambassador. Ambassador, you as we discuss about that unfair treatment by Pakistan. I mean, why in fact violation of the SAARC Charter of denying access to one country for trading with another member country. What do you say on that?
Well, this is a flagrant violation of the norms and the principles on which SAARC was formed in 1985. You see, if you analyze countries, our bilateral relations with SAARC countries, we have excellent relations with Bhutan. We have very good relations with Bangladesh, except sometimes some small irritants happen and that they are solved. We have quite good relations. We have quite good relations with Sri Lanka, and now with Maldives. We have good relations with Afghanistan. Nepal, we had so far very good relations, except few irritants which came only recently and which are being addressed. But with Pakistan, we should never have good relations throughout our existence. So this itself should be enough for Pakistani leadership to introspect. Why is this that India has got good relations with every other country in the region than Pakistan? And this is what they should think. These irritants, and you see, take example of BIMSTEC. BIMSTEC is another regional organization without Pakistan, and it is working very fine. But SAARC, which is older and which has Pakistan as members, and we have very closely knit countries, very close neighbors. That has not been working so far. See, G20 has been working, but these things, these irritants, Pakistan does not understand. Pakistan's now policy is going off tangent. It is going towards pan-Islamic and pro-Islamic organizations, OIC,
Right.
and trying to form another Islamic organization in Kuala Lumpur with Turkey and Malaysia, which failed. So, the
Ambassador,
priorities are
yeah.
misguided.
Ambassador, our time is running out. I want to ask Mr. Juneja, he wanted to talk about an alternative grouping. What is your suggestion on that?
Sir, we are having one very sicky and all other are working it out. All the blue economy, all the countries which are in this Hind Mahasagar, what you call in our language, Sri Lanka, Indonesia, and all these countries. Blue economy, I think MEA is also working it out. One we are working, which is very important. Other is BIMTAC, which including the Thailand, Burma, Myanmar. That is also we are trying to work it out, because we want to have a good relation, good commerce, trade, services with our neighboring countries. And one country is a stumbling block. Leave it and let us look to the bright future. And I'm sure the new blue economy and also the BIMTAC will surely come up, and we will be having a better opportunity to have all other countries, and the countries which are not very much keen and creating, we can leave those countries.
But the countries like Nepal, Bhutan will not come under the blue economy, no?
No, I know they don't, but there is for them we have got BIMTAC. That we are trying.
And
BIMTAC
Afghanistan,
also
our position has been that we have to take Afghanistan also along. How will you?
Yes, that we are trying to work it out. This will be already there is a think tank who are working on both these things of both the business people, MEA, Minister of External Affairs, former ambassador, all the chambers are also involved, FICCI, CIA and all, and they are trying to surely, I'm sure in next 5 to 6 months, we'll have a two alternatives, BIMTAC and the blue economy to go ahead and do the good business, commerce, trade and services among the neighboring countries of India.
That's a good thing. That means the prospects are good. And I think SARC is a dead horse now. We should give up. But I thank you both of you for participating in this debate today.
Thank you.
This is all in the agenda today. Thanks for watching. I'll be back with another important topic tomorrow. Till then, goodbye.